Close your eyes and imagine a world suspended between mist and fire, ice and shadow, a place where the earth itself is woven with stories older than memory. This is the cosmos of Norse myth, a place both terrifying and magnificent, where gods walk among men, spirits linger in forests, and ghosts drift between the veils of life and death. Here, the mundane and the magical coexist, and you, the listener, are about to step into it. At the center of everything is Yggdrasil, the world tree. Its roots stretch into the deep wells of wisdom. Its branches support the heavens, and its trunk connects the 9 worlds that make up existence. Each world is a realm of its own, each with its inhabitants, powers, and perils. At the roots lies Niflheim, a frozen land of mist and ice, home to the primordial rivers and the wellspring of cold death. To the south stretches Muspelheim, a realm of fire, brimstone, and chaos, where the fire giants dwell, and the air itself seems alive with heat and menace. Between these extremes lie Midgard, the world of men, Asgard, the realm of gods, Alfheim, the land of light elves, Fortalfheim, the domain of dwarves, Vanaheim, home of the Vanir gods, Jotunheim, the rugged territory of giants, and Hel, the shadowed land of the dead. Each realm touches the other in strange, sometimes invisible ways, and between them lies a veil that can be crossed by those with knowledge, power, or fate. In Asgard, the home of the Aesir gods, you would find Odin, the All-Father, one-eyed and ever-seeking wisdom. He sacrificed an eye at Mimir's well to drink from the waters of insight. Odin's hall, Valhalla, echoes with the footsteps of warriors chosen by the Valkyries, the maiden spirits who select the bravest slain on the battlefield. There is Thor, hammer-wielding protector, whose strength and fury keep the giants at bay, and Freya, goddess of fertility, love, and death, who claims half the fallen and rides through the skies on her chariot of cats. These deities are not distant. They nettle, warn, punish, and reward. They embody the forces of the world: life, death, storm, harvest, war, and love. And yet, beyond their magnificence, they are vulnerable, bound by the laws of fate written in the threads of the Norns, the weavers of destiny. But not all spirits are as grand. The land itself teems with beings less revered, but no less potent. In the forests, you might encounter Landvertir, guardians of the earth, invisible protectors who demand respect, whose anger can ruin crops or cause sickness. Rivers and springs harbor water spirits, wise and dangerous, their moods shifting like the tides. In the mountains dwell dwarves, master smiths who shape weapons, rings, and treasures of immense power. Some spirits are mischievous, leading travelers astray or whispering secrets too perilous to follow. Others are deadly, claiming life in a moment of carelessness. Between the living and the dead lies another threshold. Ghosts or Draugr are restless souls who linger beyond death. They are not mere echoes. They retain strength and will, often tied to their earthly attachments. Draugr haunt graves, barrows, and abandoned halls, sometimes seeking revenge, sometimes guarding treasure. Their presence is oppressive, a chilling reminder that death does not always bring peace. Rituals, spells, and offerings can placate them, but the wise tread lightly in their domains. The boundary between life and death is then fragile, and respected by all who know the old ways. The air itself is alive with unseen forces. Some spirits move with purpose, others drift aimlessly, caught between worlds. Shadows may twist into forms that vanish when approached. The wind carries whispers of prophecy, curses, and forgotten names. Night is thick with fear and wonder, for in the dark, one can see glimpses of the hidden realms if one has eyes to perceive them. Those who venture without knowledge may encounter a Fylgja, a guardian spirit often appearing as an animal connected to one's soul and destiny. Meeting a Fylgja is both blessing and omen. Sometimes it heralds fortune, sometimes tragedy. Even in daily life, the presence of gods and spirits is constant. Farmers offer small sacrifices to ensure fruitful crops, Travelers leave stones or food at crossroads to honor the spirits who guide the paths. Seafarers invoke the protection of Njord, god of the sea, hoping for calm waters. Every action resonates with unseen observers. Every word might attract attention. The world is layered, alive with conscious, unseen eyes, and navigating it requires respect, courage, and knowledge. Now, imagine walking through a forest in this world. Mist curls between the trees, dew glints on spider webs, and somewhere a brook sings beneath a broken stone. You hear a faint rustle and feel a presence behind you, neither fully corporeal nor merely imagined. Perhaps it is a guardian spirit testing your intentions. Perhaps it is a drog bound to the memory of a wronged life. Or perhaps it is something older, a fragment of the cosmos itself, reminding you that you are small, mortal, and yet part of something vast, unending, and perilous. As night falls, the veil thins. Dreams are not just illusions, but messages from other worlds. Gods may visit in vision, ghosts whisper warnings, and spirits may leave signs in the pattern of falling leaves or shifting stars. To sleep in such a world is to navigate a landscape as alive as any forest or mountain, a place where the sacred and the profane, the living and the dead overlap and intertwine. By understanding this web of the 9 worlds, the gods, the spirits, and the ghosts, one begins to grasp the ethos of Norse belief. Life is fragile, the cosmos is perilous, but knowledge, courage, and respect for the unseen offer guidance, protection, and meaning. This is a world in which every story matters, every act echoes, and every soul, mortal or divine, must honor the balance between worlds. Step further into the cosmos of Norse myth, where every hill, river, and forest is alive with presence, and where the gods themselves claim domains that overlap with mortal and spectral realms. Each deity, spirit, and ghost has a sphere of influence, a responsibility woven into the pattern of life and death. Understanding their roles reveals the heartbeat of the Norse world, where nothing is accidental and every encounter carries weight. In Asgard, the Aesir rule from halls of shining gold. Odin sits upon Lidskjalf, his high throne, seeing across all 9 worlds. He is a god of war, wisdom, poetry, and magic, and his knowledge comes at a cost. Seers, known as Velir, often invoke Odin's name in rituals to glimpse the future or interpret dreams. His ravens, Hugin and Munin, fly across the worlds daily, bringing him news of mortals and spirits alike. He embodies the pursuit of wisdom, showing that power is incomplete without insight. Thor, the thunder, wields Mjolnir, his hammer, which strikes giants and guards Midgard. His domain is protection of gods, of men, and of the natural order. Thor's presence is not only felt in battle but in storms, the roll of thunder echoing his steps, the lightning striking with his judgment. Farmers and fishermen alike pray to him, for a storm could either nourish or destroy. His chariot, drawn by goats, leaps across the sky, leaving traces of his path, a visible reminder of divine guardianship. Freya, the goddess of love, fertility, and death, presides over both sensuality and the afterlife. Her hall, Folkvanger, receives half of those slain in battle, while the other half goes to Odin's Valhalla. She is a mediator between life and death, and her cats and falcon cloak reflect the fluidity of her power. Freya also governs magic, particularly cider, a form of sorcery practiced by both men and women. Her presence teaches that power is not only strength but adaptability, perception, and the capacity to command unseen forces. The Vanir gods like Njord, Freyr, and Freya herself rule over fertility, the seas, wealth, and the bounty of the earth. Njord controls winds and waves, making him essential to seafarers. Freyr governs crops and peace, ensuring the prosperity of communities. Their influence demonstrates that divine concern is not always in grandiose heroics. It is also in the smallest, daily blessings of life, in the rhythm of planting and harvesting, in the sustenance of families and villages. Beyond these halls are the giants of Jotunheim, not simply enemies, but forces of nature, chaos, storms, cold, and the untamed wilderness. Some giants are cruel, others form alliances with gods, marrying or advising them. Frost giants and fire giants represent elemental extremes embodying forces that humans cannot control but must endure. They remind mortals and gods alike that balance in the cosmos is essential. Even Odin, Thor, and Freya interact with them, negotiating, fighting, or tricking, showing that power is never absolute. The spirits of the land are subtler, but no less potent. Landvertir inhabit rocks, forests, and fields, guarding the fertility of the land and punishing disrespect. Humans offer stones, milk, or food at sacred groves or wells, an acknowledgement that the unseen forces shape daily life. Rivers and springs hold water spirits whose moods fluctuate with the seasons. Invoking their favor can ensure safe drinking water or prevent floods, while neglect may bring disease or misfortune. These spirits are not omnipotent, but their presence is pervasive. Ignoring them is dangerous. In the mountains, dwarves forge not only weapons and jewelry but also magical artifacts that influence gods and mortals alike. They live underground, rarely seen, yet their work underpins the very structure of the Norse universe. They create Mjolnir for Thor, the golden hair of Sif for Odin's wife, and other objects of power, showing that even hidden labor shapes the fate of all realms. Ghosts or Draugr occupy the threshold of mortality. These are the dead who have not found rest, either through violent ends, unfulfilled desire, or curses. They may guard treasures, haunt family homes, or seek vengeance. Draugr possess corporeal strength, capable of crushing the living, and their presence can be detected through stench, chilling cold, or unnatural sounds. Magic, rituals, and spells can ward against them, but only those knowledgeable in the old ways can navigate these dangers safely. Their stories caution humans that death is not a simple passage, but a continuation, a potential entrapment of the soul. Seers and shamans act as intermediaries between these worlds. They interpret omens, communicate with spirits, and foresee events shaped by the gods. Dreams are not mere visions, but messages from realms beyond. A shadow in a dream may be a ghost, a blessing, or a warning. The Norns, weaving the fates beneath Yggdrasil, ensure that destiny is both inevitable and intricate. Mortals may try to alter their paths, but the cosmos holds subtle yet inexorable order. Understanding these layers is essential for survival. Even in daily human life, the gods and spirits leave traces, offering small sacrifices, maintaining sacred sites, speaking respectfully of the deceased, and honoring omens are all part of living with awareness. Ignorance or arrogance invites misfortune. Humility earns protection. Villages and families are bound to these practices, weaving human activity into the cosmic fabric. What seems mundane, a harvest, a journey, a child's birth, is observed and influenced by invisible forces. The interconnectedness of all beings, gods, spirits, ghosts, humans, and even animals, demonstrates a cosmos alive with consciousness. Every sound, every movement, every act of kindness or cruelty resonates beyond immediate perception. To live in this world is to navigate a tapestry in which one thread's tension can ripple across the entire weave. As dusk falls, the veil between worlds grows thinner, shadows deepen, and you may sense whispers in the wind, movement just beyond the edge of vision. Forests, hills, and ruins are not empty. Draugr may wander, spirits may test the living, and gods may send visions or signs. In these moments, courage, respect, and knowledge are paramount. The universe is neither fully benevolent nor entirely cruel. It is balanced, unpredictable, and sacred. By understanding the domains of gods and spirits, humans learn the rules and rhythms of existence. They see that strength alone does not protect, that wisdom and reverence are necessary. They recognize that life is entwined with death, that the world is both beautiful and perilous, and that every act carries cosmic significance. step deeper into the shadowed corners of Norse belief, where death does not always mean release, and where the veil between life and the afterlife trembles. In these stories, the dead linger not as distant memories, but as forces capable of affecting the living world. They are called draugr, revenants, or wandering spirits, and their presence is as real as the trees, rivers, and mountains. A draugr is not merely a soul in torment. It is a physical, potent presence, often tied to burial mounds or abandoned halls. It retains the strength it had in life, and sometimes even more. Tales describe them walking at night, towering over mortals, eyes glowing like embers, sometimes moving silently, sometimes letting out a chilling groan that announces their anger or sorrow. Their motives vary. Some guard treasures, some enact vengeance on wrongdoers, and others act to perpetuate unfinished business. The living tread carefully, for disrespect can awaken their wrath. These spirits are usually the result of violent or untimely deaths, greed, or betrayal. A man killed unjustly may rise as a draugr to claim vengeance. A woman who died in childbirth may linger to protect or haunt her children. And a leader who hoarded treasure may continue guarding it long after the grave has closed. Even the simplest acts in life, jealousy, cruelty, or broken promises, can bind a soul to the earth. The dead in these myths are a moral lesson. Deeds echo beyond the grave, and the consequences of actions extend further than one might imagine. Draugr often appear in the night, and their presence is heralded by omens. The smell of decay and unnatural cold, a shadow moving against the wind, all may signal that a spirit watches. Sometimes their appearance is grotesque, body bloated or discolored, eyes glowing with unnatural light. Other times they may mimic the living, their visage almost human, until subtle details betray their spectral nature. This duality is essential. Draugr exist at the boundary, the threshold between life and death, reminding mortals that the world is layered with forces unseen and often perilous. The living respond with ritual spells and protective measures. Barrows are approached with caution. Crosses or runes may be inscribed toward spirits, and burial mounds are left undisturbed. Specific rites, such as offering food, chanting incantations, or performing ceremonies at graves, are meant to satisfy or banish the restless dead. The Velier and seers hold particular expertise in these practices, interpreting signs, communicating with spirits, and ensuring that the balance between life and death remains intact. Some tales describe the hero who enters a haunted mound to retrieve a treasure or knowledge. These journeys are not only tests of courage but of wisdom and respect. Those who act rashly may be struck down by draugr, while those who approach with caution, offering words or tokens of peace, may succeed. The line between bravery and folly is thin in Norse thought. Recklessness invites not only physical harm but spiritual retribution. Draugr can also exhibit extraordinary abilities. They may swell in size, becoming monstrous, or exert superhuman strength. They may pass through walls, yet also appear bound to their burial mound. These contradictions highlight their liminal status, neither fully alive nor fully dead, existing between states, manipulating the world with partial freedom. Stories of men being strangled in sleep, of treasure disappearing and reappearing in mounds, or of strange sounds at night, all emphasize the pervasive belief in these beings' influence. Other spirits are more subtle, influencing fate indirectly. Fylgjur, guardian spirits often manifesting as animals, are tied to a person or family. Their appearance can forewarn of danger or signal destiny. A wolf appearing in a dream may represent protection, cunning, or threat. A fox may signal trickery. A bird may carry messages from distant realms. Unlike the violent draugr, these spirits are protective but demanding respect. Offense or negligence can turn a helper into a harmful force, illustrating the delicate moral balance humans navigate. The Norns, weavers of fate, further complicate the relationship between living and dead. These three women, stationed at the base of Yggdrasil, manipulate the threads of destiny, ensuring that every life is part of the grand pattern. Even Draugr, bound by unfinished desires, operate within these cosmic rules. Mortals may attempt to manipulate fate through magic or sacrifice, but ultimately, the weave of life, death, and spirit is governed by forces beyond comprehension. In villages and farms, stories of the dead serve as warnings and guides. Children are taught respect for the land and ancestors. Misfortune may be attributed to an angry spirit whose presence demands attention. Houses have thresholds marked with runes or charms. Graveyards are approached with humility, and offerings are made at sacred sites. Life and death are intertwined. The world is alive with spirits that must be acknowledged, honored, or appeased. As darkness falls and the wind whispers through trees, one feels the weight of unseen eyes. Draugr, protective spirits, and guardians of fate all move in subtle ways, shaping life, warning of danger, rewarding honor, or punishing transgression. The living cannot see all that exists, but they sense it, and through stories, rituals, and observation, they navigate the invisible currents that permeate their world. Understanding the restless dead in Norse mythology is not simply a matter of fear, it is a lesson in humility, responsibility, and the continuity of existence. The living honor the dead influence the living, and the gods oversee both. In this way, the cosmos is a continuous dialogue between realms, a conversation carried out through omens, rituals, and the stories that endure through generations. To walk the world wisely, one must recognize this balance. Every grave, every river, every shadow may harbor memory, power, or intent. Draugr remind the living that life is precious, that actions echo, and that the veil between worlds is thin and permeable. In facing the spirits of the dead, humans learn courage, respect, and the deep truth that death does not sever bonds, but transforms them into forces that linger, shape, and instruct. Step into a world where the boundary between the divine and the mortal is permeable, where God's spirits and humans intersect in ways both subtle and dramatic. In Norse mythology, the gods are not distant abstractions. They walk among men, shape destinies, and intervene when the threads of fate demand it. Encounters with the divine teach lessons, offer blessings, and sometimes punish hubris, revealing the rules of this living, breathing cosmos. Odin, the All-Father, is a master of disguise and subtle influence. He travels among humans as a wanderer, often clothed in ragged robes, one eye hidden, staff in hand. In these guises, he tests wisdom, generosity, and courage. A simple stranger at a traveler's fire might be Odin himself, assessing the character of those he meets. Stories tell of him rewarding those who offer food, shelter, or knowledge, and punishing those who act with greed, cruelty, or ignorance. These encounters are rarely violent. Instead, they are lessons woven into everyday life, subtle shifts in fortune that hint at the unseen presence of the divine. Thor, in contrast, manifests power more directly. His interventions are thunderous, literal, and unmistakable. When giants threaten villages, when storms ravage coasts, or when chaos encroaches on human settlements, Thor appears to protect Midgard. Mortals may witness him lifting his hammer, Mjolnir, and striking foes with unparalleled force. Sometimes, entire landscapes bear the mark of his actions. Uprooted trees smash boulders, or the path of a lightning bolt across the sky. Thor's presence reminds humans that divine power is not abstract, it can be immediate, raw, and unavoidable. Those who show respect and courage may be spared or aided. Those who act foolishly may suffer collateral consequences. Freya and the Vanir also play crucial roles in mortal affairs. Freya's magic, particularly cider, can influence love, fertility, and prosperity. Farmers and rulers invoke her aid for abundant harvests, healthy children, or guidance in difficult decisions. Her involvement is both mystical and intimate, highlighting that the gods' influence extends into the private and domestic spheres as well as the battlefield. Freya's gifts are precious. but they require understanding and respect. Misuse may bring imbalance or misfortune. Humans experience the supernatural in countless ways. Some receive visions and dreams, often carrying guidance, warnings, or glimpses of future events. Others encounter omens in everyday life. A raven landing on a roof may signify wisdom or warning. A sudden gust of wind may announce a significant change. The appearance of unusual animals may convey divine messages. These signs are interpreted by seers, elders, and shamans who understand the codes linking natural phenomena to the will of the gods. Heroes in the sagas often face divine tests. They may be sent on impossible quests, confronted by magical barriers, or forced to negotiate with giants and spirits under the guidance or scrutiny of the gods. Success depends not merely on strength, but on cleverness, respect for the supernatural, and adherence to moral codes. The gods intervene when human action aligns with the cosmic order, but they also challenge arrogance and hubris, ensuring that no mortal overestimates their autonomy. The interplay between gods and humans extends to blessings and curses. A well-timed prayer, offering, or ritual can ensure fertility, victory in battle, or protection from disaster. Conversely, offenses, disrespect to sacred sites, breaking oaths, or failing to honor the dead, can provoke divine wrath. The gods, spirits, and Draugr are vigilant, and their influence can manifest subtly or catastrophically. The world is alive with these interactions, demanding awareness, care, and humility. Even seemingly ordinary experiences may bear divine significance. The forging of a sword, the sowing of a field, the naming of a child, all are performed under the gaze of unseen powers. Mistakes or neglect may attract spirits, while proper observance invites blessings. Mortals learn that life is a negotiation with forces larger than themselves. Survival and prosperity depend on understanding foresight and the cultivation of relationships with the sacred. Some myths describe mortals entering the domains of gods or spirits directly. They may journey to Asgard via Rainbow Bridge, descend into hell to retrieve knowledge or loved ones, or wander into forests haunted by Landvertir. These stories are rarely literal instructions. They are symbolic, demonstrating the boundaries between worlds, the dangers of arrogance, and the rewards of courage and wisdom. Each narrative conveys that human life is entwined with the unseen, and that the divine is woven into both challenge and opportunity. In all these interactions, a constant theme emerges. The Norse cosmos is a web of reciprocity. Gods, spirits, and humans are not separate. Each affects the other. Mortals who recognize and honor these connections live in harmony with cosmic order, while those who disregard it suffer disruption, loss, or death. Stories, rituals, and omens all teach this principle, ensuring that awareness of the divine and supernatural is integrated into daily life. Thus, divine intervention in Norse mythology is not random, nor purely punitive. It is part of an intricate system of balance, guidance, and moral consequence. The gods do not exist solely for worship or adoration. They are active participants in the world, observers, and agents of the rules that govern existence. By understanding these rules, humans navigate life with knowledge, courage, and reverence for the powers that surround them. In the world of Norse mythology, power does not reside solely with the gods. Across the realms, other beings exert influence, shaping reality, testing mortals, and challenging divine authority. Among the most fearsome and elemental are the giants, the Jotnar, whose existence embodies chaos, destruction, and the untamed forces of nature. They are neither purely evil nor entirely antagonistic. They are forces of raw energy, unpredictability, and the natural world in its most extreme expressions. To encounter them is to confront the universe in its unbound form. Jotunheim, their rugged, remote homeland, is a realm of towering mountains, icy peaks, deep forests, and dark rivers. Here, the environment itself mirrors the temper of its inhabitants. Frost giants, embodiments of cold and winter, roam frozen valleys and glaciers, their breath like snow and hail. Fire giants dwell in Muspelheim, a realm of molten rock, volcanic eruptions, and rivers of flame. Each giant's domain is an elemental expression of the cosmos, a living force that mortals and gods alike must respect. Their power is vast, capable of shaping mountains, redirecting rivers, and altering the weather. Despite their formidable might, giants are not mindless beasts. They possess intelligence, cunning, and magical abilities that rival or even surpass the gods. They craft, deceive, and negotiate, sometimes marrying into divine lineages, sometimes opposing the Aesir and Vanir in epic conflicts. The myths tell of a constant tension between order and chaos, gods striving to maintain balance, giants testing boundaries, and the world itself existing between creation and destruction. This dynamic illustrates a profound truth in Norse cosmology. Stability is never permanent, and life itself is a negotiation between opposing forces. Mortals, too, encounter these elemental beings, though rarely in person. Storms, earthquakes, floods, and volcanic eruptions are often attributed to the will or wrath of giants. The winds that uproot trees, the avalanches that crush villages, and the heat of summer fires all carry echoes of these supernatural forces. Humans learn to read these signs, interpreting natural disasters as omens, messages, or manifestations of cosmic balance. Villages may offer sacrifices, perform rituals, or leave offerings at sacred sites to appease these powers, seeking protection from forces beyond their control. Not all giants are hostile. Some act as teachers, guides, or sources of wisdom, especially for those who approach with humility. The myths recount journeys where mortals enter the realms of giants to acquire magical knowledge, powerful artifacts, or insights into the future. Such endeavors are perilous. Giants respect strength, cunning, and moral integrity. Those who are arrogant, greedy, or careless often perish, emphasizing that interaction with chaos requires discernment and virtue. Beyond the giants, other elemental beings populate the Norse cosmos. The Landvertir, spirits of hills, forests, and waters, are guardians of specific locations, protecting fertility, animals, and human settlements. Their influence is subtle but pervasive. Rivers harbor water spirits whose temperament mirrors the flow. Calm streams may bring prosperity, while raging torrents signal danger. Trees, mountains, and stones may host spirits whose moods shift with the seasons, requiring human attentiveness and respect. Offending these beings can result in disease, poor harvests, or accidents. Honoring them can yield abundance and protection. The intersection of giants and elemental beings with humans and gods illustrates a recurring theme. The Norse world is alive, sentient, and interconnected. No action occurs in isolation. A misstep by a mortal may provoke a spirit, alter a giant's behavior, or trigger divine intervention. Similarly, a giant's wrath may ripple across the worlds, affecting both gods and humans. This interconnectedness creates a constant tension. Life is unpredictable, yet comprehensible through observation, ritual, and understanding of the cosmos. Some giants possess transformative or magical abilities that blur the line between being and force. They may shape-shift into animals, alter the environment, or manipulate time and perception. Frost giants can freeze rivers with a touch. Fire giants can ignite entire valleys. These abilities are not limitless, but they serve to remind mortals and gods that creation is contingent, mutable, and always vulnerable to forces beyond immediate comprehension. Interaction with these beings is not solely adversarial. Myth describes strategic alliances, exchanges of knowledge, and intermarriage between giants and gods. Loki, himself of giant lineage, embodies this intersection, a shapeshifter, trickster, and mediator whose actions alternately aid and endanger gods and humans. Through Loki and others, the myths illustrate that chaos is not merely destructive but generative, producing change, innovation, and new possibilities. The forces of chaos also manifest in natural phenomena, often attributed to unseen elemental beings. Storms, thunder, lightning, and eclipses carry spiritual significance, seen as communications between realms. Mortals learn to interpret patterns in these events, linking celestial and terrestrial signs to prophecy, divination, and the invisible web of influence. Through this lens, everyday observation becomes an active engagement with the supernatural. At night, when the veil between worlds thins, the presence of giants and elemental beings becomes more tangible. Travelers in forests, mountains, or along rivers might feel a sudden chill, hear distant footsteps, or sense a presence unseen. These experiences are not merely superstition. They reflect a worldview in which the living coexist with active, conscious forces that shape reality. Fear, respect, and attentiveness are necessary for survival and success. Rituals and offerings mediate these relationships. Humans place stones at sacred sites, pour water into wells, leave food for spirits, and recite incantations to honor or appease these forces. The power is reciprocal. Offerings may elicit protection, fertility, and guidance, while neglect or disrespect invites harm. This practice underscores the moral and ethical framework of Norse cosmology, a universe in which responsibility and awareness govern survival. The narratives of giants and elemental beings also function as allegories. They illustrate the tension between order and disorder, civilization and wilderness, predictability and chaos. Humans, as intermediaries and observers, learn to negotiate with both divine and elemental powers. Survival depends not on domination but on understanding, humility, and alignment with the natural and supernatural laws governing the cosmos. Even within Asgard and Midgard, the influence of these beings persists. Gods call upon their knowledge, artifacts, or intervention when facing existential threats, such as Ragnarok, the end of the world. Mortals, in turn, are reminded that no action exists in isolation. The consequences of defiance, ignorance, or hubris reverberate across realms. Life, therefore, becomes an ongoing dialogue with the forces of chaos, a continuous negotiation between safety and risk, knowledge and folly, order and disruption. In the end, the giants and elemental beings of Norse mythology are not villains in a simple moral drama. They are expressions of natural law, cosmic energy, and the indomitable force of life itself. To respect, understand, and, when necessary, contend with them is to participate fully in the universe. Every story of confrontation, alliance, or negotiation offers insight into the balance that sustains all existence, a delicate equilibrium between creation and destruction, between gods, mortals, and the elemental powers that surround them. To live in this world is to walk with awareness, to honor invisible forces, and to navigate a landscape in which chaos and order are forever entwined. Giants and elemental beings remind us that the cosmos is alive, unpredictable, and morally instructive, offering both danger and opportunity to those who move within its vast, layered reality. Step now into the world of ancient magic, where humans, gods, and spirits intersect through ritual, incantation, and visionary practice. In Norse belief, the unseen realms are not beyond access. They can be reached, influenced, and interpreted through knowledge and skill. This is the domain of cider, divination, runes, and other magical practices, which serve as bridges between the mortal and the divine, the living and the dead. Cider, often associated with Freya, is a form of magic that combines prophecy, shape-shifting, and influence over fate. Practitioners enter trance states, sometimes aided by chanting, rhythmic drumming, or ritual garments, to perceive distant events, communicate with spirits, or alter outcomes. The act of cider is powerful but dangerous. The practitioner exposes themselves to forces beyond ordinary human control. Improper or arrogant use can result in spiritual harm, madness, or death. Nevertheless, When performed correctly, cider enables insight, guidance, and protection for both individuals and communities. Women were often the primary cider practitioners, though men could practice as well. The magic involved weaving threads of influence, aligning words, gestures, and objects to enact change or uncover hidden truths. For instance, a seer might predict the outcome of a battle, identify a hidden thief, or reveal the health of a newborn. The power of cider relies on knowledge of cosmic patterns, respect for spiritual forces, and the ability to navigate the liminal spaces between worlds. Runes, the sacred letters of the Norse, are another conduit for magic. Each rune carries symbolic power beyond its use as language. It embodies natural, spiritual, and cosmic forces. Runes could be carved into weapons, talismans, or household objects to protect, curse, or bless. A simple mark could ward off draugr, attract favorable winds, or enhance fertility. The act of inscribing runes is itself a ritual, a dialogue with the unseen, requiring precision, intent, and respect for the forces being invoked. Divination extends beyond cider and runes. Observing the flight of birds, the patterns of clouds, or the behavior of animals could reveal hidden truths. Dreams were often considered messages from gods, spirits, or ancestors, offering guidance or warning. Seers, shamans, and elders interpreted these signs, decoding complex symbols to advise individuals and communities. This knowledge was essential for survival in a world governed by unpredictable forces, ensuring that humans remained aligned with the natural and supernatural order. Rituals, often conducted at sacred sites like groves, wells, or burial mounds, were central to maintaining harmony with spirits and gods. Offerings might include food, drink, or crafted items left to honor deities, landvertir, or ancestors. The timing of rituals mattered. Festivals marked by lunar and solar cycles, equinoxes, or seasonal transitions carried greater potency. These observances ensured that the community respected unseen forces, appeased restless spirits, and strengthened bonds with divine protectors. Some magical practices involved communication with the dead. Draugr or ancestral spirits could be contacted to provide advice, uncover hidden knowledge, or warn of impending danger. These interactions were fraught with risk, for the dead are unpredictable and potent. A practitioner might seek visions within a burial mound, chant incantations at night, or use objects that held personal significance to the deceased. Success depended on the practitioner's skill, focus, and understanding of proper protocols. Failure could result in possession, curse, or spiritual exhaustion. The gods themselves were both sources and targets of magic. Odin, in particular, is a master of cider and runic knowledge, having sacrificed himself upon Yggdrasil to gain insight into the runes. His wisdom is transmitted to mortals through vision, dream, and teaching. Though it is never freely given, it must be sought with effort, sacrifice, and understanding. Freya's mastery of cider demonstrates that magic is not simply a tool but a responsibility, a means to align human action with cosmic order. Magic also intersects with morality and ethics. A spell intended for harm could invoke retaliation or attract malevolent spirits. Benevolent magic, conversely, strengthens community bonds, protects the innocent, and harmonizes the human and spiritual realms. In this way, Norse magical practice is not amoral. It is inseparable from the cosmological and ethical framework in which it exists. Practitioners are judged by their intent as much as their skill. Animals and objects often serve as intermediaries in magical practice. Birds, wolves, and cats can be familiars, carrying messages between worlds or acting as guides. Certain stones, herbs, and metals are believed to hold intrinsic power. Water from sacred wells, fire from ritual hearths, or the blood of sacrificial animals are channels through which magic can flow. Each element is carefully chosen, reflecting the belief that everything in the natural world is alive, potent, and connected to the cosmic web. Through magic, seers, and ritual, humans learn to negotiate with the unknown. They communicate with gods, spirits, and ancestors, anticipate threats, and harness forces that lie beyond ordinary perception. These practices embed humans within a living universe, reinforcing the interdependence of mortal and divine, natural and supernatural. To the practitioner, every chant, gesture, and mark is a thread in the tapestry of existence. Life, death, luck, and destiny are all interconnected, and magic is the tool that mediates that connection. In understanding and practicing these arts, humans gain insight into the workings of the universe, develop respect for unseen forces, and learn to act with foresight and reverence. Magic, therefore, is not simply about power. It is a method of attunement, a way of listening to the subtle currents that flow between worlds. Those who master it walk a fine line, wielding influence while remaining subject to the very forces they command. Through cider, runes, divination, and ritual, mortals step into the rhythm of the cosmos, touching the invisible and ensuring that the delicate balance between humans, gods, and spirits endures. Step now into the world of conflict, honor, and destiny, where the echoes of war resonate beyond the battlefield, and where the spirits of the fallen are as vital to the cosmos as the living themselves. In Norse belief, battle is not merely a human struggle, it is a sacred theater in which gods, spirits, and fate converge. At the heart of this sacred battlefield are the Valkyries, divine choosers of the slain, and the warriors they escort to the halls of the afterlife. The Valkyries are beautiful, powerful, and formidable women, riding through the skies on winged horses or in shining armor. Their role is to select which warriors will die in battle, and which will be granted a glorious afterlife in Valhalla or Folkvanger. They carry this authority with impartiality, guided not by human morality but by the decrees of Odin and Freya. To be chosen is an honor. It marks a warrior as courageous, skillful, and worthy of eternal recognition. The Valkyries themselves are neither cruel nor vindictive. They are executors of fate, agents of the cosmic order, and guardians of the sacred balance between life and death. When the Valkyries arrive on the battlefield, they appear as a wind that chills the spine, a flash of steel in the sunlight, or a distant, echoing cry. They are visible only to those attuned to the spiritual realm, warriors who understand the sacredness of combat. The chosen dead, the Einherjar, are lifted from the mortal plane to Valhalla, Odin's great hall, where they feast, train, and prepare for Ragnarok, the final battle of the gods. Here, death is not an end but a transition into a higher purpose, a continuation of duty and honor that transcends mortality. Freya's domain, Folkvanger, claims half of the slain as her own. In her hall, Sesrumner, the chosen warriors receive care, training, and guidance. Freya's selection reflects her duality as a goddess of love and death, showing that even the act of dying in battle is intertwined with both destruction and the sustenance of life. These warriors are not passive spirits. They continue to participate in the cosmic order, symbolizing the ongoing interplay between mortality, courage, and divine will. For mortals, the presence of Valkyries underscores the sanctity of courage, honor, and ethical action. They serve as reminders that life is fragile, that bravery is meaningful, and that actions have consequences beyond immediate perception. Soldiers and villagers alike offered prayers, amulets, or ritual observances before battle, seeking the favor of these divine agents. The recognition that one's valor could echo into eternity gave warriors purpose and a moral framework within which to act, shaping human behavior and social values. The Norse understanding of death in battle is inseparable from its spiritual context. Death is not merely a cessation of life. It is a passage into a structured afterlife where deeds, skill, and honor determine position and status. The afterlife in Valhalla and Folkvanger is active, involving training for the final cosmic battle, feasting with fellow warriors, and participating in eternal rites of courage and valor. It transforms death into a continuation of life in alignment with the divine, linking mortal effort to cosmic destiny. Not all spirits of the dead achieve such honor. Those who die without recognition, without courage, or under dishonorable circumstances may linger as draugr or restless ghosts, bound to the mortal world. The contrast between the honored dead and the restless dead illustrates the moral framework of Norse cosmology. Valor, respect, and ethical action align humans with divine order, while neglect or transgression leaves them vulnerable to chaos and spiritual unrest. The battlefield itself is a liminal space where the worlds intersect and where mortals experience the presence of gods and spirits most vividly. Thunderstorms may signify Thor's presence, ominous mists may indicate Odin's observation, and sudden winds may signal the movement of Valkyries. Soldiers and leaders interpreted these phenomena as signs of favor, warning, or destiny. Successful campaigns often depended not only on skill and strategy but on attentiveness to spiritual cues and the maintenance of moral and ritual propriety. The significance of battle extends beyond immediate survival. Myths recount epic conflicts where human and divine forces interact, shaping the cosmos itself. Wars against giants, trolls, and chaos beings test both mortal and divine courage. The outcome of such battles affects not only the battlefield but the stability of realms, the balance of power among gods, and the flow of fate as woven by the norms. Each act of bravery, each display of skill, and each ethical decision carries ramifications across multiple planes of existence. Even outside formal combat, the principles exemplified by Valkyries and chosen warriors influence daily life. Social conduct, honor in trade, and respect for community and tradition reflect the same virtues that the gods reward in battle. Courage, integrity, and reverence for higher powers are woven into both martial and civil spheres, ensuring that the sacred lessons of war are not confined to the battlefield but permeate the ethical fabric of society. Valkyries also serve as symbolic mediators between life and death. Their presence reminds mortals that death is not arbitrary but guided, that courage and virtue confer continuity beyond mortality, and that the cosmic order values both human action and divine oversight. Warriors are never alone, even in their final moments. They are observed, evaluated, and honored by beings who exist beyond the ordinary perception of time and space. Stories of individual heroes, such as Sigurd, Beowulf-like figures, or legendary chieftains, often include encounters with Valkyries or guidance from divine forces. These narratives convey lessons in humility, courage, strategic thinking, and moral discernment. They reinforce the belief that mortal life is intertwined with the supernatural, and that human actions resonate across spiritual and cosmic dimensions. In some Valkyries and the chosen dead exemplify the Norse conception of battle as sacred, death as transformative, and human effort as integral to cosmic order. They bridge the human and divine, the mortal and eternal, and they remind all who hear their stories that life, honor, and courage are eternally significant. To live under their watches, to acknowledge that existence is part of a larger, sentient universe in which every action matters and every soul participates in the ongoing interplay between mortality, divinity, and fate. Step now into the everyday world of the Norse people, where the extraordinary exists alongside the mundane and where every hill, river, or forest may conceal the gaze of gods, spirits, or the restless dead. In these sagas, the stories passed from generation to generation, humans navigate a universe alive with presence, learning how to interact with forces beyond comprehension. These narratives are not merely entertainment, they are guides teaching survival, morality, and respect for the unseen. Villagers often experienced the divine through omens and signs. A sudden gust of wind might signify Odin's observation. The sudden flight of a raven could be a warning or message. A well-timed storm might reveal Thor's intervention. These events were interpreted not as chance, but as deliberate acts of the supernatural. Seers and elders acted as intermediaries, teaching the community how to read and respond appropriately, ensuring that human behavior aligned with the broader cosmic order. In one saga, a farmer walking through a dense forest notices a flicker of light between the trees. Approaching cautiously, he perceives the outline of a landvertir, a guardian spirit of the forest observing him. Remembering the teachings of his elders, he bows his head, leaves a small offering of milk upon a moss-covered stone, and silently continues his journey. The forest remains calm, the crops in his fields flourish. Such stories illustrate the reciprocal nature of human interaction with spirits. Respect is rewarded. Neglect or disrespect invites misfortune. Spirits often appear to test, guide, or warn humans. Draugr, or restless dead, may haunt ruins or burial mounds. Those who enter these sites without care may experience terror, injury, or misfortune. Yet, in some stories, Draugr reveal hidden treasures, secret knowledge, or the truth behind injustice. Mortals who approach with humility, wisdom, and offerings are sometimes rewarded. These encounters teach that courage must be tempered with respect, and that understanding unseen forces is as important as physical strength or skill. Gods occasionally interact directly with mortals in these sagas. Odin, Thor, Freya, and other deities may appear disguised as travelers, strangers, or craftsmen, testing individuals' generosity, cunning, or bravery. One tale recounts a humble villager providing food and shelter to a weary traveler who, unbeknownst to him, is Odin himself. The god, pleased by the man's humility and kindness, blesses his home and family with prosperity and protection. Such narratives reinforce the moral framework that guides human action. Generosity, respect, and attentiveness to the divine yield tangible and spiritual benefits. Magic and ritual also play prominent roles in these stories. Practitioners of cider, runecasters, and shamans guide communities through hardships, anticipate danger, and communicate with the gods and spirits. Their actions may include divination before battle, blessings upon crops, or protection from malevolent spirits. The sagas emphasize that magic is not mere trickery. It is a disciplined practice requiring knowledge, intent, and ethical responsibility. The human ability to influence the unseen demonstrates that mortals have agency within the structure of fate, even as they remain subject to the will of gods and cosmic forces. Interactions with spirits are not limited to foreboding encounters. Ancestors, household spirits, and protective entities offer guidance and support. A family may keep a small shrine or offering at the hearth, acknowledging the presence of these beings and maintaining harmony within the home. Draugr may be appeased with ritual gifts, or a guardian spirit's presence may be called upon in times of illness or misfortune. The sagas frequently describe these interactions in detail, illustrating how humans learn to coexist with powerful, unseen entities. Heroes and ordinary people alike navigate challenges that intertwine the physical and spiritual worlds. They face natural disasters, monstrous beings, or moral dilemmas that require both practical and supernatural wisdom. The sagas often highlight ingenuity, courage, and respect for divine order as essential qualities for survival. A hero may receive guidance through a vision, a spirit may reveal a hidden path, or the gods may intervene to test character. Through these stories, humans understand that life is a continuous negotiation with forces beyond sight. Even seemingly mundane acts are laden with spiritual significance. Planting crops, naming children, building homes, and observing seasonal rituals all carry weight. Ignoring sacred practices risks attracting wrath or misfortune. Careful attention aligns humans with cosmic rhythms. This integration of daily life and the supernatural reflects the holistic nature of Norse belief, where the sacred permeates every action, and morality, courage, and piety are inseparable from survival and prosperity. The sagas also reveal the consequences of disrespect or hubris. A hunter who disregards the spirits of the forest may become lost, fall ill, or encounter Draugr. A warrior who ignores divine warnings may perish despite skill and strength. These narratives reinforce the moral and spiritual framework of Norse cosmology. Knowledge, respect, and ethical conduct are as critical as bravery or intelligence. Lessons embedded in these stories guide behavior across generations, preserving wisdom and ensuring harmony between humans and the unseen. Through these tales, the Norse people cultivated awareness of the multiplicity of existence. Gods, spirits, and ancestors were not abstract concepts. They were active participants in daily life, shaping fortunes, influencing outcomes, and teaching through direct or subtle intervention. Mortals learn to recognize patterns, interpret signs, and respond appropriately, integrating spiritual understanding with practical knowledge. The interplay between humans and the supernatural also emphasizes the interconnectedness of all beings. Actions taken in one sphere ripple across others. Kindness to a spirit may yield protection, while disrespect may cause harm. Heroes' journeys and villagers' experiences alike demonstrate that mortals are never isolated. They exist within a web of divine, spiritual, and ancestral forces, all interacting to maintain or challenge balance. Ultimately, these sagas illustrate the ethical, spiritual, and practical principles that underpin Norse life. By listening, observing, and acting with respect and courage, humans navigate a universe alive with unseen forces. Every encounter, every choice, and every ritual is part of an ongoing conversation with the divine, the dead, and the elemental. This perspective transforms everyday existence into a dialogue with the cosmos, where the ordinary is suffused with the sacred, and where knowledge of the supernatural ensures survival, prosperity, and harmony. In this world, humans are not passive. They engage, respond, and learn from spirits, gods, and ancestors. They recognize the consequences of actions, the importance of ethical behavior, and the value of courage and insight. Every saga, every tale, and every lesson teaches that life, death, and the supernatural are intimately linked, and that awareness, respect, and wisdom are essential to navigating a universe that is as alive and dynamic as the forces it contains. Step now into the grand sweep of time, where the destinies of gods, humans, spirits, and giants converge. In Norse cosmology, the universe is not static. It exists in cycles of creation, destruction, and renewal. Central to this worldview is Ragnarok, the prophesied end of the current age, where the boundaries between the mortal and divine, the living and dead, will collapse and be remade. To understand Ragnarok is to understand the ultimate stakes of Norse belief. The cosmos itself is alive, governed by forces that are simultaneously protective, destructive, and instructive. Ragnarok is foretold through the prophecies of the Norns, the weavers of fate. They spin the threads of destiny, showing that even gods are subject to the grand design. The signs of its approach are manifold. Winters grow harsher, social bonds fray, and chaos among humans mirrors cosmic disorder. Natural phenomena, earthquakes, floods, and volcanic eruptions intensify, reflecting the upheaval that will touch all realms. Yet the prophecy is not purely fatalistic. Through understanding, courage, and alignment with divine and cosmic laws, mortals and gods can prepare, engage, and participate in the transition with awareness, even if not full control. At the heart of Ragnarok is the clash between order and chaos. The Aesir and Vanir, bound together yet distinct in purpose, face off against giants, fire demons, and other elemental forces that have long tested them. Loki, the trickster god, leads a coalition of chaos, including giants and monstrous beasts, representing both the unpredictable elements of the universe and the consequences of moral and ethical imbalance. The battlefield is not merely physical, it is spiritual and cosmic. encompassing all realms Asgard, Midgard, Jotunheim, and beyond. Spirits play crucial roles in these final events. Draugr may rise from graves, ancestral forces may lend their strength, and Valkyries continue to guide the chosen warriors into battle. Even those who dwell in liminal spaces, such as Landvertir or elemental beings, act to preserve or challenge the balance. Every being, mortal or divine, contributes to the unfolding drama, reflecting the Norse understanding that life, death, and cosmic forces are interconnected. The battle itself is cataclysmic. God's fall, Odin is devoured by Fenrir, Thor and Jormungandr strike each other down. Freyr faces the fire giant Surtur. Giants and monsters ravage the world, and natural forces run unchecked. Yet destruction is not the end. Afterward, the cosmos is reborn. The seas recede, fertile land emerges, and the surviving gods, humans, and spirits build anew. This cycle of destruction and renewal mirrors the rhythms of life and death observed in nature. Winter gives way to spring, storms to calm, death to rebirth. Mortals are not mere observers. Those who survive Ragnarok inherit a purified, renewed Midgard, living in harmony with divine and natural forces. Their actions, courage, and moral integrity during the preceding chaos shape the foundation of the new world. Spirits and ancestors guide them, teaching that survival depends on awareness, respect, and ethical alignment with cosmic principles. Human agency, though constrained by fate, remains meaningful within the grand cycles of existence. Ragnarok also embodies profound moral lessons. The inevitability of destruction reminds mortals that life is fleeting, that courage and wisdom are essential, and that arrogance or neglect invites calamity. The survival and rebirth of some beings illustrate that preparation, humility, and alignment with the sacred order preserve continuity. The cycle teaches that death, chaos, and renewal are natural, and that participation in the cosmic order requires vigilance, respect, and ethical conduct. Spirits' roles are especially significant in this context. Draugr, ancestral spirits, and protective Landvertir help maintain continuity even amid upheaval. Valkyries continue to gather the worthy, ensuring that those who demonstrate courage and virtue are prepared for their roles in the new world. The intertwining of mortal action, divine will, and spiritual oversight underscores the holistic nature of Norse cosmology. The universe is not a collection of isolated parts, but a living, responsive whole. Cosmic cycles also affect the understanding of time. Past, present, and future are interwoven. The deeds of ancestors resonate through generations, influencing outcomes and shaping the conditions of rebirth. Prophecies, omens, and magical insight allow humans to perceive fragments of these cycles, encouraging foresight and wisdom. Through ritual, magic, and ethical behavior, mortals participate actively in the continuum, engaging with fate rather than succumbing blindly to it. Ragnarok is thus a microcosm of the Norse worldview. Life and death, chaos and order, divine and mortal, are inseparable and continuously interacting. Every event, from the smallest act of kindness to the grandest battle, echoes across the layers of existence. The myths teach that awareness, respect, courage, and moral conduct are essential for navigating this living cosmos. The cosmos is simultaneously fragile and resilient, threatened yet perpetually renewed, with spirits and gods guiding, challenging, and sustaining life throughout. Finally, the cycle reassures that endings are not absolute. Even after the most catastrophic events, the world is reborn. Mortals, spirits, and gods who endure work together to create harmony, demonstrating that wisdom, courage, and ethical action have lasting significance. In this way, Norse mythology provides a framework for understanding mortality, ethics, and the supernatural. Life is fleeting yet meaningful, guided by unseen forces, shaped by courage, and sustained by the continuity of cosmic cycles. Step now into the realms beyond mortal life, where the Norse imagination conceived a rich and structured vision of the afterlife. Death is not merely an end, but a transition into worlds filled with gods, spirits, and other beings, each realm reflecting the nature of the individual's life, actions, and fate. These afterlife realms, Valhalla, Folkvanger, Hell, and others, are populated with the honored dead, the restless, and divine figures who guide, protect, or judge the souls that enter their care. Valhalla, the hall of the chosen warriors. Valhalla, Odin's great hall in Asgard, is the most renowned afterlife destination. Here, the Einherjar warriors chosen by the Valkyries reside. Their lives after death are active, filled with combat training, feasting, and preparation for Ragnarok. Valhalla is not a passive paradise. It is a place of purpose and honor, where courage, skill, and loyalty are cultivated eternally. The walls of the hall gleam with gold, the ceiling sparkles with shields, and the aroma of roasted boar fills the air. Daily, the warriors engage in battles to hone their skills, and at night they are restored by abundant feasts, attended by Valkyries who serve as both caretakers and guides. The significance of Valhalla extends beyond physical enjoyment. It reflects the Norse understanding that glory, valor, and moral integrity are rewarded. Warriors are remembered and honored, and their deeds resonate across realms, influencing the balance between order and chaos. Death is not an erasure but a continuation, a transition into a realm where the highest virtues are both tested and celebrated. Folkvanger, Freyja's realm. Freyja claims half of the slain for her hall. Folkvanger, a place of equally significant but distinct character. Her hall, Sisrumr, is a space where the chosen warriors are cared for, trained, and prepared for the cycles of cosmic conflict. Freyja's selection highlights her role as both a goddess of love and war, underscoring the duality inherent in Norse belief. Life and death, destruction and renewal, passion and valor all converge in her realm. Here, morality, bravery, and respect for the sacred intertwine, showing that the afterlife is not uniform but shaped according to divine order and cosmic logic. Hell, the realm of the dead. Hell, ruled by the goddess Hel, is the destination for those who die of old age, sickness, or misfortune. Far from the grandeur of Valhalla or Folkvanger, Hell's realm is often described as cold, shadowed, and quiet, a place of stillness and reflection. It is not necessarily punitive. Rather, it represents the natural conclusion of mortal life and the transition into a more subdued existence. However, some narratives emphasize the eerie presence of restless spirits, draugr, and moral ambiguity, reflecting the Norse understanding that death carries weight and consequence regardless of the path taken. The river Jewel, icy and foreboding, separates the living from the dead. Guardians such as Modgud ensure that passage is neither trivial nor unprotected, highlighting the sacredness of boundaries between life and death. Hell's realm emphasizes the inevitability of mortality, the impartiality of cosmic law, and the continuation of existence even beyond life as humans know it. Other realms and spiritual spaces. Beyond these primary afterlife destinations, Norse cosmology includes lesser-known realms and spiritual planes. Burial mounds, sacred wells, forests, and mountains may harbor spirits, ancestors, or elemental beings. These spaces are both liminal and potent, acting as thresholds where the living interact with the dead, gods, or other supernatural forces. Offerings, rituals, and prayers ensure that these interactions remain balanced and beneficial, protecting both individuals and communities from spiritual disruption. Some spirits, particularly ancestors and protective Landvertir, maintain ongoing relationships with the living. They offer guidance, warnings, and blessings, demonstrating that the afterlife is not isolated from the mortal world. Instead, it is intertwined with it, influencing decisions, fortune, and destiny. Draugr, who may linger near their burial sites, serve as reminders of unfinished business or moral consequences, reinforcing ethical and ritual obligations. The moral and ethical framework of the afterlife. The structure of these afterlife realms reflects the moral and spiritual architecture of Norse belief. Actions in life, courage, generosity, loyalty, and respect for the divine affect one's fate after death. Valor and integrity are rewarded with honor and purpose, while neglect, arrogance, or disrespect may result in restless wandering or shadowed existence. Mortals are reminded that their lives are meaningful not only for their own experience, but for the broader cosmic balance, influencing gods, spirits, and the living alike. Interaction between realms. The afterlife realms are not static or isolated. Gods, spirits, and mortals in various planes maintain dynamic relationships. Valkyries traverse between Valhalla, Folkvanger, and the battlefield, guiding souls to their destined hall. Seers and magicians may communicate with the dead, seeking knowledge, warnings, or insight. Even natural forces and elemental beings influence or interact with these realms, emphasizing the interconnectedness of existence. No realm exists in isolation. The cosmos functions as a living network where life, death, and spirit continuously influence one another. The significance of the afterlife. Understanding the afterlife in Norse mythology is essential to understanding the worldview itself. Death is neither simple nor final. It is a continuation of participation in the cosmic order. Valor, moral integrity, respect for divine and spiritual laws, and awareness of unseen forces determine one's role beyond life. The afterlife is both a reward and a responsibility, a space where the principles of courage, wisdom, and respect endure, shaping future cycles of existence. In the Norse imagination, life and death are inseparable, and the journey of the soul continues beyond the mortal plane. The realms of Valhalla, Folkvanger, Hell, and the myriad spiritual spaces remind mortals that existence is layered, interconnected, and alive with moral and spiritual consequence. Each act, choice, and ritual resonates beyond the immediate moment, shaping destiny, guiding the living, and sustaining the balance of the universe. Step now into the realm of destiny, where time, choice, and consequence intertwine under the watchful eyes of the Norns, the weavers of fate. In Norse cosmology, the universe is guided not only by divine will or mortal action, but by the inexorable flow of destiny. Life, death, fortune, and misfortune are threads in a vast tapestry, woven with precision, foresight, and inevitable consequence. The Norns are Verandi and Skuld reside beneath Yggdrasil, the world tree, at the Well of Erd. Their names signify the past, present, and future, reflecting the scope of their dominion, or records what has been. Verandi manages what is unfolding, and Skuld shapes what is yet to come. Together, they spin, measure, and cut the threads of all beings, mortals and gods alike. Their power is absolute. Even Odin, the All-Father, must submit to the designs they weave. The threads of destiny are visible metaphorically in sagas and visions. They represent the interconnection of choices, actions, and cosmic consequences. Every act of courage, deceit, generosity, or cruelty affects the pattern of fate. Mortals live within the weave, influencing it through their behavior while remaining subject to its larger design. The threads are neither entirely malleable nor fully predetermined. They illustrate a dynamic tension between free will and the inevitability of the cosmic order. Mortals often seek to understand or influence their fate through divination, ritual, and magic. Seers, room masters, and shamans interpret omens, dreams, and signs to anticipate what the Norns have woven. Observing animal behavior, celestial phenomena, or natural events can reveal glimpses of the threads that bind the future. Yet even these insights are partial. The full tapestry is beyond mortal comprehension. The practice of foresight is thus as much about humility as it is about strategy, learning to act wisely within the limits of human understanding while acknowledging the authority of the Norns. Gods, too, are subject to the Norns' weaving. Odin's relentless quest for wisdom, including his self-sacrifice upon Yggdrasil to learn the secrets of the runes, exemplifies the tension between divine ambition and predestined outcomes. Even with immense power and foresight, the gods cannot alter the fundamental patterns of fate. They can only prepare, respond, and align their actions with the threads that the Norns have spun. Ragnarok, the ultimate cosmic conflict, exemplifies this principle. The gods know it is inevitable, yet they act with courage and strategy, fully aware that their efforts will shape the quality, if not the certainty, of what is to come. Fate manifests not only in grand cosmic events, but also in daily life. A farmer's success in harvest, a warrior's fortune in battle, or the health and longevity of a family are all influenced by the threads of destiny. Observing ritual, maintaining moral integrity, and respecting the divine and spiritual order are ways in which mortals align themselves with these threads, improving the likelihood of favorable outcomes while mitigating misfortune. Small actions ripple through the tapestry, affecting both the individual and the community. The Norns' presence also emphasizes moral responsibility. While destiny guides the overall structure of life, human choices determine the texture of the threads. Courage, honor, kindness, and piety strengthen alignment with cosmic order. Arrogance, deceit, and neglect create tension, misfortune, or spiritual imbalance. Mortals are not passive. They are participants whose actions resonate within the web of existence, demonstrating the interplay between free will and preordained destiny. Encounters with spirits, gods, and supernatural beings often underscore the influence of the Norns. A seer's warning, a Valkyrie selection, or a Draugr's hunting may appear coincidental, yet each event reflects threads carefully woven into the broader tapestry. Even the most powerful deities operate within these constraints, illustrating that no being, mortal or divine, escapes the reach of fate. The metaphor of weaving is central. Life is not a linear path, but an intricate network of interdependent threads. Decisions intersect, intentions collide, and consequences unfold in patterns that are both predictable and mysterious. The Norns ensure that the cosmic order remains intact, balancing chaos and stability, life and death, growth and decay. Each thread contributes to the harmony of the universe, demonstrating the interconnectedness of all beings. Mortals who understand the nature of fate are empowered not by the ability to escape it, but by the capacity to act wisely within its structure. They cultivate foresight, courage, and ethical awareness, learning to navigate challenges and anticipate outcomes. This engagement transforms existence into a meaningful interplay between action and consequence, illustrating that destiny is both guiding and responsive. Ragnarok, the collapse and rebirth of the cosmos, ultimately demonstrates the Norns' authority. Even as the world ends, their threads persist, weaving the foundation for renewal. The surviving gods, humans, and spirits inherit a cosmos already patterned for regeneration, showing that destiny encompasses both endings and beginnings. Awareness of this continuity shapes behavior, reinforcing values of courage, wisdom, and respect for unseen forces. In essence, the Norns remind mortals and gods alike that existence is part of a larger, living tapestry. Every decision, encounter, and act resonates within this structure, influencing both the present and future. To live with awareness of fate is to recognize that life is sacred, interconnected, and imbued with moral and spiritual consequence. The threads of destiny are not merely constraints. They are pathways to understanding, growth, and alignment with the eternal rhythms of the cosmos. Step now into the landscapes that the Norse people inhabited, the forests, rivers, mountains, and seas, and recognize that these were not merely physical spaces, but realms alive with spirits, guardians, and unseen forces. In Norse cosmology, the natural world is populated with conscious, sentient entities whose presence shapes the fortunes of mortals and gods alike. These spirits, land retir, water spirits, and elemental beings form an integral part of the universe, acting as protectors, teachers, and occasionally as sources of challenge or danger. Land retir, guardians of the land. Land retir, or land spirits, are among the most revered and ubiquitous beings in the natural world. They inhabit hills, fields, forests, and mountains, maintaining balance and overseeing the health and fertility of the land. Farmers and villagers understand that disrespecting these spirits through thoughtless destruction, neglect, or sacrilege can result in poor harvests, disease, or misfortune. Conversely, honoring the land Vertir through offerings, ritual observances, or designated sacred spaces brings abundance, protection, and harmony. These spirits are often described in human or animal forms, sometimes blending the characteristics of both. A land Vertir may appear as an imposing guardian, a wise old figure, or an animal symbolizing the natural forces they protect. Their temperaments are closely tied to the health of their domain. A forest land Vertir is peaceful when trees and wildlife are respected, but can become wrathful if the forest is harmed or ignored. The influence of land Vertir extends to human settlement patterns. Villages and homesteads are carefully placed to avoid offending these spirits. Foundations might be blessed, stones left undisturbed, and offerings placed at significant sites, such as the foot of a hill or beside a grove. These practices reflect the Norse understanding that human activity must exist in harmony with natural forces, integrating ethical behavior, spirituality, and practical survival. Water spirits, rivers, wells, and lakes. Rivers, lakes, and wells are inhabited by water spirits whose moods and actions directly impact human prosperity. These beings may bless communities with fertile fishing grounds, clean water, and safe travel, or they may become capricious, causing floods, illness, or accidents. Water spirits are often associated with particular characteristics of their domains. A river spirit may be calm and generous during summer but turbulent and dangerous during winter thaws or storms. Interaction with water spirits often requires ritual observances, offerings, or indications. A traveler may toss a coin into a well, a fisherman may leave a portion of the catch as thanks, or a family may dedicate a festival to ensure the safety of nearby waters. Such actions reinforce the notion that humans must negotiate with the unseen, honoring the forces that sustain life while mitigating potential harm. The ethical and practical significance of natural spirits. The spirits of the natural world are deeply intertwined with moral and ethical behavior. Disrespect, greed, or ignorance can provoke misfortune. Humility, gratitude, and careful observation bring protection and prosperity. The Norse worldview emphasizes that every action, no matter how small, resonates through the network of spirits, affecting both the immediate environment and the broader cosmic order. In this way, morality is inseparable from environmental stewardship and daily life. Interactions with these spirits are not only about survival but also about understanding. A farmer, hunter, or traveler who observes patterns in weather, wildlife, or natural occurrences is effectively reading messages from the land Vertir and water spirits. This knowledge guides decision-making, whether it is the timing of planting crops, the location of a hunt, or the selection of a site for settlement. Humans are participants in a living universe, where attentive observation and ethical engagement with spirits enhance both safety and prosperity. Encounters with elemental beings. Beyond land Vertir and water spirits, other elemental entities embody fire, ice, wind, and earth. Fire spirits may inhabit hearths, volcanoes, or molten streams. Ice spirits dwell in glaciers and frozen mountains. Wind spirits traverse valleys and coastlines. These beings are not merely symbolic, they actively shape the environment and human experience. Farmers may pray to frost spirits for mild winters. Seafarers may honor wind spirits for safe voyages, and hunters may acknowledge mountain spirits before climbing peaks. These encounters demonstrate the Norse perception that the cosmos is alive and responsive. Every natural event, storm, flood, drought, or calm, carries spiritual significance. Humans learn to read these signals, understanding that success and survival depend on harmony with the unseen forces that govern the physical world. Spiritual reciprocity. The relationship between humans and natural spirits is reciprocal. Offerings, prayers, and rituals are not mere superstition. They maintain balance, acknowledge the spirit's agency, and foster cooperative coexistence. In return, the spirits ensure fertility, safety, and prosperity. Neglect or exploitation breaks this harmony, resulting in illness, poor harvests, or environmental catastrophe. Through this reciprocity, humans experience that ethical behavior is integral to survival, not optional. Integration with broader Norse cosmology. Natural spirits do not exist in isolation. They are part of the larger web that includes gods, ancestors, giants, and other supernatural beings. Land may cooperate with gods to enforce cosmic balance. Water spirits may influence the outcomes of mortal endeavors, and elemental beings may serve as both challenges and allies to those seeking wisdom or power. The universe is interconnected, a network where mortal action, spiritual presence, and divine will continually interact. In practical terms, understanding and respecting these spirits ensured survival in a harsh and unpredictable environment. In moral and ethical terms, it reinforced values of humility, attentiveness, and reciprocity. Spirit awareness was woven into everyday life, shaping social norms, ritual practices, and ethical frameworks. Conclusion. The spirits of the natural world, land, water spirits, and elemental beings are essential to the Norse understanding of reality. They remind mortals that the world is alive, morally and spiritually charged, and interconnected across realms. To honor these spirits is to maintain balance, ensure survival, and align with the cosmic order. Human life is enriched by observation, ritual, and respect, allowing mortals to participate meaningfully in a universe where every action resonates beyond the visible world. Step now into the shadowed realm where death does not always bring peace. In Norse belief, some souls refuse or are unable to move fully into the afterlife, lingering in the mortal world as ghosts, revenants, or draugr. These entities are neither entirely living nor fully dead, existing in liminal spaces between realms. Their presence affects the living often as warnings, punishers, or teachers, and they remind mortals that the consequences of life's actions extend beyond death. Draugr, the dead who walk. Draugr are the most infamous of Norse undead. Unlike the honored dead in Valhalla or Folkvanger, draugr are often driven by greed, vengeance, or unfinished business. They inhabit burial mounds, ruins, or familiar sites, guarding treasures, haunting enemies, or seeking retribution. Physically, draugr are described as corpse-like yet animated, with superhuman strength and the ability to shapeshift, grow in size, or pass through walls. Their presence is terrifying, a reminder that death alone does not erase the consequences of mortal choices. Draugr often arise from lives marked by moral imbalance, unresolved anger, or disrespect. A miser who hoarded wealth may return as a draugr, seeking to reclaim his treasures or punish those who enter his domain. A warrior killed dishonorably may arise to avenge himself. Their actions are bound by past deeds, emphasizing the continuity of moral and ethical responsibility. Ghosts and spirits of the departed. Not all restless entities are violent. Some ghosts or spirits of the departed linger near loved ones, guiding, protecting, or delivering messages. These apparitions can appear in dreams, visions, or physical form, often conveying warnings, advice, or insight into hidden matters. Their presence is deeply connected to memory, emotion, and unfinished relationships, showing that human bonds endure beyond physical death. Interactions with ghosts are governed by ritual and respect. Offerings, prayers, and careful acknowledgement prevent harm and foster positive relations. Mortals might leave food at a grave, perform rites on anniversaries, or invoke the deceased during decision-making. Through these practices, The living maintain harmony with spirits, ensuring that ancestral guidance and protection remain accessible. The liminal power of the restless dead. The presence of Draugr and ghosts reflects the Norse belief in liminality, threshold states where ordinary rules of life, death, and morality blur. These beings operate in the spaces between worlds, acting as arbiters of consequences, enforcers of moral law, or guides for those who can perceive them. Their power is real, sometimes dangerous, and always a reminder that the unseen world actively interacts with the living. Restless dead also serve as a spiritual caution. Ignoring moral obligations, disrespecting the dead, or neglecting ritual duties can provoke these entities. Conversely, attention to ethical behavior, proper burial rites, and veneration of ancestors fosters protection, knowledge, and continuity between realms. In this sense, Draugr and spirits are not mere threats, they are integral to maintaining cosmic balance. Encounters in daily life. Stories of the undead often intersect with everyday life. A villager entering a mound to retrieve treasure may encounter a Draugr, testing courage and respect. A farmer might receive guidance in a dream from an ancestral ghost, warning of impending misfortune. A sailor may sense a spirit on a voyage, guiding them through treacherous waters. These encounters illustrate the permeable boundary between life and death and the moral, spiritual, and practical implications of human action. The undead also remind mortals that power is never absolute. A living person may be strong, clever, or skilled, yet a Draugr's supernatural abilities can challenge even the most capable. Success requires humility, wisdom, and adherence to proper ritual or ethical behavior, reinforcing the notion that mortals exist within a structured cosmic order. Mediation and magic. To manage the presence of the restless dead, mortals often employ magic, ritual, or mediation by seers and shamans. Protective charms, runic inscriptions, and incantations can repel or pacify Draugr. Divination and cider allow practitioners to understand a ghost's intentions, communicate, or negotiate. In this way, magic functions not merely as a tool of power but as a method of ethical engagement and spiritual alignment. The moral dimension. The existence of Draugr, ghosts, and revenants underscores the moral dimension of Norse cosmology. Lives marked by cruelty, greed, betrayal, or neglect may reverberate beyond death, while honor, courage, and ethical behavior leave enduring positive influence. Mortals are encouraged to live consciously, respecting the living, the dead, and the unseen forces that govern the world. The restless dead are enforcers and teachers, illustrating the enduring consequences of human choices. Conclusion. The spirits of the restless dead serve as reminders that the Norse universe is alive, morally structured, and continuously interactive. Draugr, ghosts, and revenants reveal the interconnectedness of life, death, and ethical responsibility. Through respect, ritual, and awareness, mortals can navigate encounters with these beings, learning wisdom, preserving balance, and maintaining alignment with the cosmic order. Death, even in its liminal, unsettling forms, is not final. It is part of an ongoing dialogue between the living, the dead, and the supernatural forces that shape the universe. Step now into the intimate spaces of Norse life, the hearth, the home, and the family, where the divine and the spiritual are woven into the routines of daily existence. In addition to powerful gods, fearsome Draugr, and wandering spirits, Norse belief holds that ancestors and household spirits play vital roles in guiding, protecting, and influencing mortal life. These entities act as guardians of domestic harmony, transmitters of wisdom, and mediators between the human and supernatural worlds. Ancestors, the living memory of families. Ancestors are honored as the living memory of the family, embodying the values, traditions, and experiences of previous generations. Their presence is not abstract. They are active participants in the life of the household. Ancestral spirits may appear in dreams, visions, or omens, providing guidance on important decisions, warning of impending danger, or advising on moral dilemmas. By listening and responding appropriately, mortals ensure continuity, wisdom, and protection within the family unit. Ritual observances and offerings maintain these connections. Meals may include symbolic portions for departed ancestors. Anniversaries of death are observed with prayers and remembrances, and shrines or altars in homes may be dedicated to their honor. Such practices reinforce a sense of lineage and moral accountability, emphasizing that one's actions reflect not only on oneself, but on the collective family history. Household spirits, guardians of the home. Household spirits, sometimes called Vidr, serve as guardians of domestic spaces. They protect the hearth, the livestock, and the well-being of family members. Their favor ensures prosperity, health, and the smooth functioning of daily life, while neglect or offense can invite misfortune. A clean hearth, respectful behavior, and small offerings of food or drink maintain their goodwill. Household spirits are often portrayed as invisible yet perceptive, capable of rewarding diligence and punishing neglect. For instance, a cow left untended might be influenced by the spirit, resulting in poor milk production. A home built without acknowledging the household spirit might experience frequent accidents or disputes. These beliefs reinforced practical and moral responsibility in the home, intertwining ethics, spirituality, and daily labor. The interplay of ancestors and household spirits. Ancestors and household spirits often operate in concert, creating a network of guidance and oversight. Ancestors may transmit ethical standards, impart wisdom, or provide cautionary advice, while household spirits ensure that moral behavior is translated into practical order and protection within the domestic space. Together, they maintain harmony between the human, spiritual, and natural worlds, reflecting the Norse understanding that the home is a microcosm of the cosmos. The guidance provided by these entities is sometimes subtle, a gentle intuition, a recurring dream, or a sign in the natural world, but it is always rooted in experience, tradition, and the principles of cosmic balance. Families learn to interpret these messages carefully, understanding that alignment with ancestral and household wisdom ensures prosperity, stability, and moral integrity. Rituals and daily practice. Daily rituals reinforce relationships with ancestors and household spirits. Meals are often shared symbolically, prayers or blessings are spoken at the hearth, and seasonal festivals honor both familial and natural spirits. These practices cultivate attentiveness, gratitude, and moral awareness, embedding spiritual consciousness into the routines of everyday life. The act of remembrance and respect also strengthens social cohesion. By honoring ancestors and maintaining household spirits, families connect with a lineage of ethical guidance and practical knowledge. Younger generations learn responsibility, courage, and respect for tradition through these interactions, ensuring that both moral and spiritual frameworks are preserved across time. The moral and ethical dimension. Ancestors and household spirits are more than protective figures, they are ethical mirrors. They reward virtue, diligence, and humility while signaling disapproval for selfishness, cruelty, or negligence. Their influence demonstrates that morality is deeply integrated with practical life. Tending the land, caring for family, observing customs, and respecting spiritual forces are all expressions of ethical behavior. By honoring these entities, mortals also engage with the larger cosmic order. Ancestors and household spirits act as intermediaries between human communities and gods, mediating spiritual influence, providing insight, and maintaining alignment with divine will. Their presence ensures that the household becomes a center of ethical and spiritual activity, where morality and survival are inseparable. Continuity and legacy. The reverence for ancestors and household spirits emphasizes the continuity of life and the persistence of influence across generations. Decisions, actions, and ethical behavior have consequences not only in the present but for future descendants. The household becomes a vessel for cultural, moral, and spiritual heritage, ensuring that values, knowledge, and cosmic alignment are preserved over time. In this sense, every domestic action, whether feeding the family, caring for livestock, or observing a ritual, is imbued with meaning. The home is both a sanctuary and a stage for ongoing dialogue between mortals, ancestors, household spirits, and the unseen forces of the cosmos. Through these relationships, life becomes a continuous negotiation between the human, spiritual, and divine, where awareness, respect, and ethical action determine harmony and prosperity. Conclusion. Ancestors and household spirits exemplify the Norse belief that the spiritual world permeates everyday life. They provide guidance, protection, and ethical oversight, linking morality, survival, and cosmic balance. By honoring these entities, mortals maintain harmony in the household, ensure continuity of family values, and participate actively in the ongoing dialogue between the living, the dead, and the supernatural. The home, therefore, becomes a sacred space where life, spirit, and morality intersect, reflecting the Norse understanding that every action, no matter how ordinary, resonates through both time and the unseen universe. Step now into the mystical dimensions of Norse life, where mortals interact with the unseen, navigate fate, and access knowledge through the disciplined practice of magic. In Norse belief, magic was not mere trickery or superstition. It was a vital tool for understanding the cosmos, influencing events, and communicating with gods, spirits, and the dead. Among the most significant forms of this knowledge are sire, the shamanic practice of spellcraft and divination, and runes, the sacred symbols imbued with power and wisdom. Sire, the shamanic path. Sire is a form of magic that blends prophecy, ritual, and spiritual communication. Practitioners, often called velvas or sekones, could perceive the threads of fate, summon spirits, or influence outcomes in both mundane and cosmic matters. Sire involves trance, chanting, symbolic gestures, and the manipulation of natural and supernatural energies. Through Sire, humans gained insight into hidden realms, understood omens, and occasionally altered probabilities, though always within the constraints of fate as woven by the Norns. Velvas played a central role in Norse communities, serving as guides, advisors, and mediators. They interpreted signs from the gods' spirits and ancestors, provided protection against malevolent forces, and offered counsel on decisions ranging from farming and settlement to warfare and diplomacy. Their practice demonstrates the Norse understanding that humans can engage with the supernatural ethically and effectively, using discipline, knowledge, and respect to navigate uncertainty. Communication with spirits. Sire enabled communication with a wide range of spiritual entities, ancestors, Landvertir, water spirits, Draugr, and gods. Through ritual offerings and symbolic action, practitioners could request guidance, warn of danger, or negotiate outcomes. Spirits responded according to cosmic laws, morality, and the clarity of intent. Misuse of Sire through selfishness, deception, or disrespect could provoke retaliation or imbalance, emphasizing the ethical dimension of magical practice. The practice also reinforced the interconnectedness of all realms. A velva's vision might reveal disturbances in the natural world, discontent among spirits, or impending cosmic events. By interpreting these signals, mortals could act to restore harmony, prevent misfortune, or prepare for significant occurrences such as wars, harvests, or social upheavals. Magic, therefore, was not an isolated power but a tool for integration, awareness, and ethical action. Runes, sacred symbols, and sources of power. Runes are more than an alphabet. They are symbols of cosmic forces, each carrying unique meaning, energy, and instruction. Carved into wood, stone, or metal, runes were used for writing, divination, protective charms, and magical operations. Odin's mythic self-sacrifice on Yggdrasil, hanging for 9 nights to gain the wisdom of the runes, underscores their sacred and potent nature. Knowledge of runes allows mortals to access insight, influence events, and communicate with the divine. Runic inscriptions often combine practicality with spirituality. A rune may mark property, bless a dwelling, or ensure safe travel, while simultaneously invoking ancestral guidance or divine protection. Divination with runes, casting symbols to reveal guidance or foresee outcomes, provided a structured method to interpret fate and make decisions aligned with cosmic principles. Ethics and responsibility in magic. Magic is inseparable from ethics in Norse belief. The potency of sire and runes derives not only from knowledge, but from intent and respect for natural and spiritual laws. Selfish, malicious, or disrespectful use risks consequences ranging from spiritual retaliation to social censure. Conversely, disciplined, ethical use strengthens connections with spirits, aligns action with cosmic order, and enhances personal and communal welfare. Practitioners serve as both mediators and exemplars, demonstrating that power must be tempered with wisdom. They navigate between realms, translating the language of spirits, interpreting omens, and guiding humans and gods alike. The ethical dimension reinforces the Norse principle that knowledge and skill, whether martial, magical, or moral, carry responsibility. Integration into daily life. Magic permeates everyday Norse life. Farmers, sailors, warriors, and villagers all interact with magical practices, whether through protective charms, divination, ritual offerings, or observance of omens. The ethical and practical guidance provided by sire and runes ensures that human action remains aligned with cosmic balance. Magic is thus inseparable from survival, morality, and spiritual awareness. Even the smallest acts, carving a protective rune on a threshold, invoking a land vertier before planting crops, or offering respect to ancestral spirits illustrate the integration of magical practice into daily existence. Through these actions, mortals participate actively in the web of existence, interacting with gods, spirits, and the unseen forces that shape their lives. Cosmic implications. Magic is not merely a personal tool, it has cosmic significance. Properly applied, it can influence outcomes in line with divine will and spiritual law, guiding communities, ensuring fertility, and maintaining harmony between realms. Misused, it can destabilize relationships, provoke wrath, or invite supernatural disruption. The practice of sire and the application of runes demonstrate that humans are active participants in shaping fate, but always within the structures defined by the norms, gods, and cosmic order. Conclusion. Sire and runes exemplify the Norse understanding that the unseen world is deeply entwined with the visible. Magic allows mortals to communicate with spirits, influence fate, and engage the divine, but always with responsibility and ethical oversight. Through disciplined practice, careful observation, and moral awareness, humans can navigate uncertainty, strengthen their communities, and maintain alignment with the cosmic balance. Magic is both a tool and a teacher, guiding mortals to act with courage, wisdom, and respect in a universe alive with unseen forces. Step now into the realm of subtle signs and hidden knowledge, where the gods, spirits, and the threads of fate communicate with mortals through symbols, visions, and dreams. In Norse belief, the universe speaks constantly, sending warnings, guidance, and insight to those attentive enough to perceive them. Omens, prophetic dreams, and visions are tools through which humans can understand the will of the divine, the disposition of spirits, and the unfolding patterns of destiny. Omens, signs in nature and daily life. Omens are manifestations of the unseen forces operating in the world, communicated through natural events, animals, or unusual phenomena. A flock of birds flying in a certain formation, the sudden appearance of a wolf, the behavior of livestock, or even changes in weather could signal impending danger, opportunity, or shifts in fortune. Mortals interpreted these signs through experience, ritual instruction, or guidance from seers, allowing them to act in alignment with cosmic currents. Omens carry both moral and practical weight. They reflect not only external circumstances, but the ethical balance of human behavior. Ignoring warnings or misinterpreting signs can lead to disaster, while attentiveness and responsiveness ensure survival and prosperity. Omens remind mortals that the world is alive and conscious, continuously reacting to human action and ethical conduct. Dreams, messages from gods and spirits. Dreams are a primary channel through which divine and spiritual knowledge is transmitted. Gods, ancestors, and spirits often communicate guidance, warnings, or revelations through dream visions. Some dreams are literal, revealing forthcoming events or specific dangers, while others are symbolic, requiring interpretation through intuition, ritual, or the counsel of a seer. Dreams could instruct a warrior on how to approach battle, warn a farmer of failing crops, or advise a family on the timing of rituals. In many cases, dreams blend memory, instinct, and spiritual insight, serving as a bridge between conscious understanding and cosmic awareness. A dream is never trivial. It is a thread of the broader tapestry of fate, offering mortals the opportunity to act wisely within the unfolding design of destiny. Prophetic visions and seers. Seers, velvas, and other practitioners of magic frequently enter trances to perceive prophetic visions. These experiences allow them to glimpse not only the immediate future, but the long arc of events shaped by the Norns and the actions of gods and humans. Such visions are both sacred and practical, providing guidance to communities in matters of agriculture, warfare, trade, or governance. The Norse recognized that visions are layered and complex. A single image or symbol could carry multiple meanings, requiring careful interpretation. The ability to discern truth, pattern, and moral implication is essential for understanding the message. Prophetic visions demonstrate that the universe communicates not in direct commands but in patterns and symbols, requiring wisdom, attentiveness, and ethical consideration. Birds, animals, and animal messengers. Animals are often the intermediaries of omens and divine messages. Ravens, for example, are associated with Odin and are symbolic of insight, memory, and prophetic knowledge. Wolves, snakes, and eagles also appear frequently in stories and portents, their behavior reflecting cosmic balance, moral consequences, or impending events. Observing animals with attentiveness is a form of divination, linking mortal action to spiritual and natural realms. Birdsong, migration patterns, and unusual animal behavior were interpreted as signs from the gods or spirits, guiding decisions and informing ethical conduct. Such observations reinforce the Norse principle that the natural world is alive, morally resonant, and deeply interconnected with human existence. Ethical interpretation of omens and visions. Understanding omens, dreams, and visions is inseparable from morality. The cosmos communicates in ways that reflect both external events and human behavior. Courage, honesty, respect for the divine, and ethical action make it possible to receive, interpret, and act upon messages correctly. Deception, negligence, or disrespect can distort perception or provoke misfortune. This intertwining of morality and perception ensures that spiritual awareness is aligned with ethical living. Integration into daily life. Omens and dreams are not abstract concepts, they shape practical decisions. Farmers plant or harvest crops based on signs. Warriors plan tactics according to dreams or visions. And families observe rituals informed by prophetic insight. These practices are integral to survival, prosperity, and alignment with divine and natural forces. Norse people perceive life as a dialogue. Humans act, the universe responds, and the attentive interpret the signals to maintain balance. Connection to fate and the Norns. Omens, dreams, and visions also reveal the threads woven by the Norns. Mortals are rarely shown complete outcomes but glimpses of patterns, possibilities, and warnings. These insights allow informed action within the constraints of fate, reinforcing the Norse understanding that destiny is both guiding and interactive. Awareness and responsiveness do not negate fate but enable participation in its unfolding with wisdom and courage. Conclusion. Omens, dreams, and prophetic visions form a vital bridge between the mortal world and the divine, the living and the dead, the known and the unknown. They teach that the universe is sentient, morally structured, and continuously communicative. By observing, interpreting, and acting upon these messages ethically, mortals navigate uncertainty, honor the guidance of gods and spirits, and align with the cosmic order. In the Norse worldview, perception is a sacred skill, enabling humans to live in harmony with the rhythms, messages, and responsibilities of a universe alive with unseen forces. Step now into the dynamic interface between the divine and the mortal, where gods actively shape human life, sometimes as protectors, sometimes as challengers, and always as teachers. In Norse mythology, the gods are intimately involved with the human world, not as distant observers, but as entities whose actions and presence influence fate, morality, and survival. Understanding these interactions is essential to perceiving how humans navigate a cosmos alive with divine will, spiritual power, and ethical consequence. Protection from the gods. Several gods serve as guardians and benefactors for humanity. Thor, the Thunderer, is a protector against giants and chaotic forces, safeguarding communities from destruction. Freyr ensures fertility, agricultural abundance, and prosperity. Odin, though demanding and inscrutable, grants wisdom, inspiration, and guidance to those who seek it. Mortals often invoke these gods for safety, health, and success, offering sacrifices, performing rituals, or following the ethical and moral codes associated with each deity. The god's protection is conditional. It rewards respect, courage, and piety, while neglect or hubris invites hardship. By understanding divine character, mortals learn to live ethically, balancing personal ambition with communal responsibility and cosmic law. Protection is not merely physical, it is spiritual, moral, and ethical, ensuring alignment with forces that maintain order in a universe constantly at risk from chaos, challenges, and tests. The gods frequently test humans, presenting challenges that reveal character, resilience, and morality. These trials may take the form of natural disasters, encounters with spirits, or moral dilemmas. A warrior may face a battle that tests courage and strategy. A farmer may confront famine or disease. A leader may navigate conflicting obligations between kin and community. Through these challenges, humans demonstrate worthiness, courage, and wisdom. Success often earns divine favor, while failure provides lessons or warnings. Such interactions reinforce the Norse understanding that life is an arena of moral and ethical engagement, where humans are responsible for their actions and must navigate a world shaped by divine, spiritual, and natural forces. Transmission of knowledge and wisdom. The gods also act as teachers, transmitting knowledge, skills, and ethical guidance. Odin's pursuit of the runes exemplifies divine instruction. The runes carry wisdom, magical insight, and understanding of the cosmos. Gods may reveal knowledge through dreams, visions, omens, or direct encounters, guiding mortals to act wisely and align with the rhythms of fate. Seers, shamans, and other practitioners often serve as intermediaries, interpreting divine messages and conveying guidance to the community. This ensures that divine wisdom is accessible, structured, and applied ethically. Knowledge is both practical, ensuring survival, and prosperity, and spiritual, fostering moral integrity and alignment with cosmic law. Ethical and moral implications. Interactions with the gods emphasize that morality is inseparable from survival and prosperity. Courage, generosity, respect for the dead, and ethical behavior earn divine favor, while deceit, arrogance, or cruelty attracts misfortune. Gods serve as moral arbiters, whose actions reflect the consequences of human behavior across temporal and spiritual dimensions. These interactions teach that humans are participants, not passive observers, in the cosmic order. Ethical action, respect for divine authority, and attentiveness to the spiritual world ensure alignment with forces that shape both individual fate and the broader balance of existence. Divine presence in ritual and daily life. Mortals engage with gods through ritual offerings, festivals, and personal devotion. Seasonal celebrations, sacrifices, and prayers cultivate connection, reinforce ethical behavior, and maintain divine favor. Even small acts, placing offerings at sacred sites, honoring deities during meals, or observing moral conduct sustain the protective and instructional presence of gods in daily life. The integration of gods into everyday activity underscores the Norse belief that the divine is immanent. It permeates daily labor, social interaction, and moral decision-making. Humans are never entirely independent. They operate in a network of influence where gods, spirits, and ancestors shape the circumstances, consequences, and meaning of life. Consequences of divine interaction. Divine interaction is reciprocal. Mortals act ethically, observe ritual, and respect cosmic law. In return, gods offer protection, guidance, and opportunity. Disregard or disrespect disrupts harmony, potentially leading to disaster, misfortune, or spiritual imbalance. These interactions demonstrate that the universe is alive and morally structured, and that human choices resonate across realms, influencing both mortal and divine affairs. Conclusion. The gods' interactions with humans exemplify the Norse understanding of life as a morally and spiritually charged journey. Protection, challenge, and instruction are not arbitrary, they are expressions of cosmic law, ethical principle, and interconnected faith. By observing ritual, acting with courage, and respecting divine and spiritual forces, mortals navigate a world where survival, morality, and wisdom are inseparable. The gods teach, protect, and test, ensuring that humans participate actively in the ongoing dialogue between the living, the divine, and the cosmos. Step now into the cosmic structure of the Norse universe, where existence is organized into 9 worlds suspended within Yggdrasil, the great world tree. These realms are not isolated. They are intricately connected, enabling interaction between gods, humans, spirits, and other supernatural beings. Understanding this cosmology is essential to grasping how Norse mythology envisions the flow of life, death, and divine influence. Yggdrasil, the cosmic axis. At the center of Norse cosmology stands Yggdrasil, the immense ash tree whose roots and branches span the 9 worlds. It is the axis mundi, connecting realms of the living, the dead, the divine, and the elemental. Beneath its roots lie wells of knowledge and destiny, while its branches reach into the heavens, providing passage and vision for gods and seers alike. Yggdrasil is alive, conscious, and imbued with cosmic significance. Creatures inhabit it: the eagle perched atop, the squirrel Ratatoskr running messages, and serpents gnawing at its roots, symbolizing the flow of information, conflict, and balance throughout the cosmos. The tree reminds mortals that existence is interconnected, that actions in one realm can ripple through others, and that life is bound by threads of fate, spirit, and divine oversight. The 9 worlds. The 9 worlds are diverse yet interdependent, each with its own inhabitants, rules, and spiritual dynamics. 1. Asgard, the realm of the Aesir gods, a space of divine governance, wisdom, and order. Here, Odin, Thor, Frigg, and other deities dwell, interacting with mortals through protection, challenge, and instruction. 2. Vanaheim, home of the Vanir gods associated with fertility, prosperity, and magic. Vanaheim is closely linked with human agriculture, trade, and the cycles of life and growth. 3. Midgard, the world of humans, encircled and protected by divine forces. It is the domain of mortal experience, ethical choice, and interaction with spirits and natural forces. 4. Jotunheim, the land of the giants Jotnar, often in opposition to the gods. Encounters with Jotner test courage, intelligence, and morality. 5. Alfheim, realm of the light elves, beings of beauty, guidance, and ethereal magic. They may provide inspiration, protection, and insight to mortals attuned to spiritual forces. 6. Svartalfheim, a Dweller home of dwarves, master craftsmen, and magic workers. Mortals benefit from their skills in tools, weapons, and enchanted artifacts. Dwarves embody knowledge, innovation, and subtle power. 7. Niflheim, a primordial realm of ice, fog, and cold, associated with hell and the underworld. It houses the spirits of the dead who die of natural causes, emphasizing reflection, inevitability, and cosmic order. 8. Muspelheim, realm of fire, heat, and destructive energy, home to fire giants. It embodies chaos, transformation, and the raw forces that drive creation and destruction. 9. Helheim, often considered part of Niflheim or as its own realm, Helheim is ruled by the goddess Hel, hosting those who die of sickness or old age. It represents the natural cycle of mortality and serves as a liminal space between the living and the honored dead. Interconnections between worlds. The worlds are not isolated. Portals, pathways, and messengers enable travel, communication, and influence. The Bifrost, a rainbow bridge, connects Asgard and Midgard, allowing gods and divine messengers to move between the realms. Spirits, ancestors, and practitioners of Sire navigate liminal spaces, conveying guidance or warnings across worlds. Even mortal actions in Midgard can influence the balance of forces in other realms, demonstrating the Norse belief that life is interwoven with spiritual, natural, and divine currents. Interaction of beings across realms. Gods travel to Midgard to protect or challenge humans. Giants attempt to disrupt order in Asgard, and spirits influence both mortal and divine affairs. The worlds of elves, dwarves, and spirits are not merely decorative, they actively shape events, providing guidance, danger, and magical influence. Mortals who understand these interactions can navigate challenges, gain wisdom, and align themselves with cosmic balance. The 9 worlds also frame the narrative of Ragnarok, where interrealm interactions culminate in the destruction and renewal of existence. The threads of fate stretch across all 9 realms, showing that destiny is a cosmic web, and no world exists in isolation. Moral and ethical implications. The structure of the 9 worlds reinforces the Norse principle that morality, courage, and respect for divine and spiritual forces are essential. Actions in Midgard resonate outward, influencing divine plans, spirit behavior, and cosmic balance. Ethical behavior is rewarded, while hubris, cruelty, and negligence generate consequences that reverberate across realms. Humans, gods, and spirits alike are bound by these interconnected responsibilities. Conclusion. The 9 worlds demonstrate that the Norse cosmos is alive, structured, and profoundly interconnected. Mortals, gods, spirits, and elemental forces exist in a network of influence and consequence, where actions, ethics, and awareness shape not only individual destiny but the fate of the entire universe. Yggdrasil and its realms remind humans that life is a continuous dialogue between realms, and that survival, prosperity, and moral integrity depend on understanding, respect, and harmonious engagement with the cosmic order. Step now into the climactic vision of Norse cosmology. Ragnarok, the foretold end of the current cosmic order. Far from being merely a tale of destruction, Ragnarok is a complex interplay of fate, morality, divine action, and spiritual consequence, a vision that demonstrates the cyclic nature of existence, where endings give way to renewal and life continues in transformed forms. The prophecy of Ragnarok. Ragnarok is described in the poetic and prose Eddas as a sequence of cataclysmic events that involve gods, giants, humans, spirits, and elemental forces. The signs of its approach are manifold: natural disasters, moral decline, and the increasing influence of chaos. Humans and gods alike perceive omen storms, the appearance of monstrous creatures, and the rise of rebellious forces among giants and spirits. These events demonstrate that fate, as woven by the Norns, is inexorable, and even divine intervention cannot prevent the ultimate outcome. The forces of destruction. The principal forces of Ragnarok include the giants Jotnar, long-standing adversaries of the gods. The giants rise to challenge divine authority, testing the order of the cosmos. Loki and his progeny. Loki, the trickster, escapes imprisonment and aligns with destructive forces, including his monstrous children Fenrir the wolf and Jormungandr the world serpent. Fenrir, the wolf destined to devour Odin, embodying chaos, unchecked destruction, and the consequences of prior divine action. Jormungandr, the Midgard serpent, whose release signifies upheaval in the natural and human world, causing floods, storms, and global disturbance. Surt and Muspelheim, fire giants emerge from Muspelheim, igniting the cosmos in flames, symbolizing the transformative power of destruction. These forces, both supernatural and symbolic, represent the culmination of tension between order and chaos, morality and neglect, divine authority and rebellion. The battle of the gods and giants. During Ragnarok, gods and giants engage in a final, epic confrontation. Key figures meet foretold fates. Odin faces Fenrir and is devoured, illustrating the limits even of supreme wisdom and courage. For battles, Jormungandr, slaying the serpent but succumbing to its venom shortly after, faces the giant run, sacrificing his hand and life in the struggle. Frey falls to Surtur, his sword lost to prior events, demonstrating the cost of earlier choices and moral decisions. These battles are not mere spectacle, they are expressions of cosmic justice, fate, and the consequences of human, divine, and spiritual actions throughout time. The role of humans and spirits. Mortals are not absent from Ragnarok. Heroes of Midgard join the struggle, demonstrating courage, honor, and loyalty. Spirits of the dead, both ancestral and restless, may influence events, while Landvertir and natural forces either resist or align with the unfolding chaos. The interaction of human spirits and divine forces reinforces the Norse principle that all actions, moral and ethical, have lasting consequences and resonate through the interconnected nine worlds. Destruction and renewal. Following the cataclysm, the world is submerged in water and fire, leaving only a desolate landscape. Yet Ragnarok is also a narrative of renewal. Survivors among the gods, including Odin's descendants and Baldur, return to rebuild Asgard and Midgard. To human survivors, Leif and Lifthrasir emerge from hiding to repopulate the earth. The earth itself is renewed, fertile, and free from the corruption and imbalance that precipitated destruction. This cyclical vision demonstrates that endings are not absolute. They are part of an ongoing cosmic process where morality, action, and spiritual alignment lead to rebirth and the restoration of balance. Moral and spiritual lessons of Ragnarok. Ragnarok emphasizes several core Norse principles. 1. Fate is inescapable. Even gods, seers, and mortals are bound by the threads of destiny. 2. Ethical action matters. Courage, honor, and moral conduct shape both immediate survival and long-term cosmic consequences. 3. Cycles of destruction and renewal. Death and devastation are not final. They are precursors to renewal, offering lessons, wisdom, and transformation. 4. Interconnectedness of realms. Gods, humans, spirits, and natural forces are inseparably linked, and actions in one sphere resonate throughout the nine worlds. Ragnarok is both a warning and a guide, illustrating that vigilance, ethical behavior, and spiritual awareness are essential for navigating the perils of existence, and that hope and renewal emerge even from destruction. Conclusion. Ragnarok is a profound narrative that transcends mere apocalypse. It embodies the principles of Norse cosmology, the inevitability of fate, the moral and ethical weight of action, the interplay of humans, gods, and spirits, and the eternal cycle of death and rebirth. In its vision of destruction and renewal, it teaches courage, wisdom, and humility, reminding mortals that the universe is alive, conscious, and morally structured. Even in endings, life, order, and ethical alignment endure, ensuring that the tapestry of existence continues through cycles of challenge, consequence, and transformation. Step now into the aftermath of Ragnarok, when the fires have cooled, the seas have receded, and the nine worlds begin to renew themselves. In the Norse worldview, endings are inseparable from beginnings. The devastation of gods, giants, and mortals transforms into fertile ground for rebirth, moral reflection, and cosmic realignment. This final chapter explores how the cosmos renews itself, how spirits and gods influence the new order, and the lessons humans carry forward from these eternal cycles. Emergence of a renewed world. After the cataclysm, the surviving gods, descendants of Odin, Balder, and other deities emerged to reclaim Asgard and re-establish divine order. In Midgard, the earth is fertile, rivers flow freely, and the air is cleansed. To human survivors, Leaf and Liftrsir repopulate humanity, symbolizing continuity and hope. Even in the face of catastrophic loss, life persists. The reborn world is not a perfect restoration but a transformed space, emphasizing renewal, resilience, and the cyclical nature of existence. The nine worlds, though altered, remain interconnected. Lessons learned from destruction, ethical, moral, and spiritual, are embedded in the fabric of reality. Mortals, spirits, and gods alike carry the memory of prior failures and triumphs, ensuring that the renewed cosmos is informed by experience, wisdom, and ethical vigilance. Spirits and the continuity of influence. Spirits, both ancestral and elemental, continue to inhabit the renewed world. Ancestors guide the new generation of humans. Land, Vertir, and water spirits maintain the health and balance of natural domains, and household spirits protect homes and families. Even Draugr and restless entities retain their lessons. Their presence reminds mortals that ethical conduct, respect for life, and attentiveness to the spiritual world are essential for harmony. These entities are now part of a reborn ethical and cosmic framework, where the consequences of past actions inform present behavior. Mortals must honor the unseen forces of the world, engage in ethical decision-making, and maintain rituals and traditions that sustain balance between the living, the spiritual, and the divine. Divine legacy and human responsibility. The gods' role in the rebirth of the cosmos highlights the enduring relationship between mortals and the divine. Though some gods fell in Ragnarok, their surviving descendants restore protection, wisdom, and guidance. Humans inherit both the opportunity and the responsibility to act ethically, cultivate knowledge, and maintain harmony with the divine spirits and natural world. This relationship emphasizes interconnected responsibility. Mortals influence cosmic balance through courage, moral action, and attentiveness to spiritual signals. Divine guidance is available, but humans must interpret, act, and maintain alignment with ethical principles. Knowledge, ritual, and respect are tools that enable harmonious coexistence and the continued flourishing of life. Moral, spiritual, and ethical lessons. The rebirth of the cosmos carries profound lessons. 1. Life is cyclical. Death and destruction are not ends but transformations, paving the way for renewal. 2. Ethical conduct endures. Morality, courage, and responsibility resonate across generations, influencing both the living and the spiritual realms. 3. Interconnectedness is fundamental. Actions in one sphere, human, divine, or spiritual, impact the entire cosmos. Harmony depends on awareness and ethical engagement. 4. Hope and resilience are eternal. Even after catastrophic loss, life regenerates, providing opportunities for growth, understanding, and ethical evolution. These lessons integrate survival, morality, and spiritual awareness, demonstrating that the Norse universe values ethical action as much as strength, knowledge, and courage, ritual, remembrance, and the living cosmos. In the reborn world, mortals continue to honor ancestors, maintain household spirits, and observe divine rituals. Offerings, prayers, festivals, and observances sustain alignment with cosmic and spiritual order. Ethical living, the attentiveness to omens, and respect for natural and supernatural forces become guiding principles for survival, prosperity, and moral growth. By participating in these practices, humans actively engage with the cosmos, ensuring that the reborn world is not only alive but conscious, ethical, and morally resonant. Every act, small or large, echoes through the realms, shaping destiny, influencing spirits, and maintaining harmony with gods and natural forces. The eternal Norse perspective. The final vision of Norse cosmology is one of continuity. Life, death, spirits, gods, and humans exist in an eternal dialogue where learning, ethical action, and courage perpetuate balance and renewal. Even in the face of catastrophe, the universe is dynamic, moral, and alive. The legacy of God's spirits and ancestors persists, teaching mortals that every choice matters, every action has consequence, and every life contributes to the unfolding cosmic order. Conclusion. The rebirth of the cosmos embodies the enduring wisdom of Norse mythology. Endings are transformations, moral and ethical conduct shapes destiny, and humans, spirits, and gods exist in a web of interdependence. By honoring the cycles of life and death, respecting spiritual and divine forces, and engaging with courage, wisdom, and ethical responsibility, mortals participate fully in a universe that is alive, conscious, and eternally renewing. Through the narratives of gods, spirits, ancestors, and humanity, Norse mythology imparts a vision of existence that is at once inspiring, morally instructive, and eternally hopeful. A cosmos in which life, learning, and ethical action resonate across the 9 worlds and beyond.